Half-Shell Oyster House offers award-winning cuisine and service. Named TripAdvisor Best Top 10 Small Chains in the United States. Voted Best Seafood in Mississippi Magazine 8 times. You can enjoy award-winning oysters and seafood, delicious steaks, pastas, sandwiches, salads, and so much more in a unique, polished, casual dining experience. Half-Shell Oyster House is located at 115 Laurel Park Cove, Suite 105, Flowood, Mississippi 39232. Or you can give them a call at 769-257-7586. And hey, tell them Sonia sent you.
She say sports. She say sports. She say sports. She say sports.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Sonia, and welcome back to She Say Sports. Today I have with me Associate Athletic Director of Communications, Digital Media at the University of South Alabama. Please welcome Travis Jarome. Hey Travis, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. You're welcome. I'm doing well. No complaints. So tell the listeners a little bit about yourself.
Well, this is stop number 6, I think, college-wise for me. Hopefully it'll be the last stop. And it's not anything bad. It's not like I've ever lived somewhere bad.
Right.
I started my career at Auburn Montgomery. I was a student athlete. Kind of backed my way into the profession. I wanted to be a teacher and a coach. The guy that was in this position at AUM left. And they asked me if I took the job. So if I was interested in the job, I said I was. I graduated May 10th of 03, got married May 31st of 03.
Wow.
Got the job offer May 29th of 03 and started June 2nd of 2003. And
wow.
I've only left once, and that was to take a high school AD spot, but I've been here. I've been at North Georgia. I've been at Troy, Tuskegee, Alabama State, and now South Alabama, and don't have a complaint about either stop along the way. My career path was not really chosen for me, but it was one that when I started this, I kind of mapped it out on how I wanted to do it and just progressed up the chain. I was a director for 2 small schools, an NAIA school at AUM and then a D2 school at North Georgia. Transitioned to an assistant director at the D1 level, which is what I wanted to do, and then become a director in its own right.
Right.
Had a chance to step away in 2011 and do something I never thought I would do, and that was become an athletic director at one of the biggest private schools in the state of Alabama. Spent almost 4 years there, helped build a program that's now very successful on the football field. Decided I really miss college athletics. Tuskegee opened the doors for me. Spent almost 2 years there before making a 6-year jump to Alabama State and making it here. And I tell people all the time, I think I learned more about myself from 2014 to 2022, whatever day I left Alabama State, just because of the climate the country was in and where I worked at an HBCU.
Yeah.
But, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the real reason that drives me is married almost 20 years. I'll be married 20 years in May. I've got a beautiful 13-year-old daughter that if you follow me on social, is the center of my world. They're 2.5 hours away from me now. So it drives me nuts. But that's me in a nutshell. I mean, I know it's a little long-winded, but that's me and that's who I am. And I told the folks here at South that when I interviewed, it was faith, family, and then job. And I said, if any of those things are in the wrong order, then, I don't need to be here. But that's how I live my life every day. And that's the way it's going to continue.
That's awesome. And I do follow you on social media. And yesterday was National Daughters Day and you gave her a shout out. So yeah, that's your baby.
Yeah, and I almost missed it. They happened to be here, and I made the comment that she looks really good in red, white, and blue, because my whole family is Auburn. My wife graduated from Auburn. Her mom graduated from Auburn, and that's all they talked about is her going to Auburn. Well, I'm at a great institution that believes in family, that believes in education, that believes in athletics, and got a great leader as an athletic director and a great leader as a president. And, and I wouldn't be sad if she came down here and decided to go to school, and she could even live on campus. She didn't have to live with me. She can live on campus and just go to school for 4 years.
That wouldn't be a bad thing. So, well, she got a few more years to figure it out. So just keep her, like putting that little push.
Nah, look, she's going to figure her own stuff out. That's why she's still at home there. She's playing volleyball, and
Okay.
that's something I wasn't going to take away from her because she made her school team. So, whatever
Okay.
she decides, whenever they want to move, they can move. And she decides to stay there and play volleyball, she's going to stay there and play volleyball. I mean, I'm not going to force the hand.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. It's not that far, so that'll be good. So, Travis, how did your love for sports begin?
Oof. If you really want to go all the way back, probably when I was about 5.
Mhm.
Started kicking around the ball. It was a soccer ball, started bouncing a basketball, started picking up a baseball, and I kind of experimented with all of them. And I'm not going to say how good I was at any of them. I played football, I played baseball, I played basketball, but really fell in love with soccer. Soccer got me through my adolescent years. It kept me out of trouble. Really developed some really good relationships.
Mhm.
Played club all the way through high school, and got an opportunity to play at AUM for a couple of years, and kind of really fell in love with it then. My whole goal was to be a teacher and a coach, and I was doing athletic training hours. So I was taping ankles and wrists and doing treatment. And
Okay.
when the coaches came to me and said, "Hey, we're short a goalkeeper. Can you still play?" I was like, "I don't know. There's only one way to find out." And so went out there and played, and it just became too hard to do athletic training and play soccer at the same time. So
Right.
kind of backdoored my way into doing sports information stuff, and it just, that's kind of where it went. But as a kid, you always hear these days, you hear these kids and these parents talk about they want their kid to do this, they want them to just play this one sport. I picked up any ball you could pick up, I played anything you could play, and just fell in love with the right one when I was about 10 or 11, and it carried me
Mhm.
all the way through.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I mean, you've been doing pretty well at what you've been doing for the, 20, almost 20 years. So
Yeah,
it
it's
has,
almost 20. Thanks
yeah.
for dating me. Now you make me,
Yeah.
now I realize how long I've been doing it.
No, you dated yourself, and it all flowed. The job, the wife. I mean, no, the graduation, the wife, and then
Yep.
the job. So it all flowed. So tell us, what exactly is your role as an associate athletic director of communications digital media?
A lot different than the stops I've made along the way. I can tell you that, the last 6 years I spent basically doing a lot at Alabama State. I was game ops, I was game management, I was sports information, I was on air, doing stats. I mean, you just everything that you could entail about a game, I did for
Mhm.
the last 6 years. Here, totally different. We focus on our communications effort. I've got
Mhm.
2 full-time staffers, I've got 2 interns, 4 students. And then, we have a creative team, fan engagement team, that really carry the load. But for me and for us, every day is different. My role now is a lot more administrative. Like today, Mondays are usually the worst days of the week, because you go anywhere from 7 to 9 or 10 meetings.
Mhm.
Today has been a little weird. I missed our head coach's football call on radio, his weekly coaches show, because I had 2 meetings on top of each other. But for me, it's just a day is working on game notes, getting our stuff right on the website, updating rosters, um, you know, administratively going to meetings, signing off on paperwork, making sure we get the stuff we need to make sure we're successful on a daily basis. I oversee a stat crew that does all of our sports. We don't none of our full-time staffers input except baseball, softball. Um, so we have a stat crew for football. We have another one for volleyball right now, and then we have an intern that does soccer.
Mhm.
Um, then we write stories. Don't have to post photo guy. I mean, everything is different for me. I mean, this is, and I think I told somebody this the other day, this is a dream come true when you work to get to where you want to be.
Yeah.
And that's what I said earlier. I can't count the number of stops because everywhere has been good.
Right.
But, back in June when I took this job, before anything had really ever started going, I called my wife and, I said, I think I found it. She goes, I've heard that at every place you've been. You're not going to leave. You love it. And I said, see, that's where you jumped. I said, that's where you jumped me in line. I said, I'm sitting at a red light. And I said, I'm calling to tell you, I think I just found my retirement place. I mean, I don't have much left in me to retire, but this is an institution. It's a blank slate. We can do what we want to do. We can, we get to tell the story of South Alabama, and I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you that most of my days are spent going to talk to my coaches and to my student athletes, which is football. I got asked the question, how are you going to know 125 football players you just got here? So 2 weeks later, the same football player came up to me and was like, man, you know everybody? I was like, I told you I was going to. I said, there's just certain things about you that I have to remember, names, numbers, where you're from. I said, that's the point. I said, my whole thing is, and I stood in front of the room and told each and every one of them, I said, my job is to protect you and to tell your story. And I said, I vow to you that before you leave this institution, I'm going to know who you are. I'm going to know something about you before you walk out the door. And that's what we do. That's what we do on a daily basis. I mean, it's like I said, it's totally changed. I try to do that everywhere I've been, but here it's different because I only have a couple focuses.
And and that shows that you really care about the student athlete too. They're not just a number or a stat. You actually cared enough to figure out who they are and what they're all about. So that's pretty nice.
Well, and two, a lot of people don't know this, and because I really didn't say a whole lot about it when I did it, but when I left, my last day at Alabama State was actually the Friday of the SWAC baseball tournament. But I made a promise to our baseball coach, because this had been going on 4 months probably, the courting between myself and South and me, and I went to our baseball coach and I told Vake, I said, hey, there's a chance I'm not going to be here, but and I told him where I was going to go. I gave him my word that I was going to stay on until the season was over. Well, my last day was that Friday of the SWAC baseball tournament. I was on the field celebrating with them because I was still working that Sunday. And I actually still did some stuff for them the next week when they went to regionals. And then when I left, it's hard because you don't get a chance to tell everybody bye. So I sent a message to the strength and conditioning coach, said Quinn, and said, hey man, when are y'all working out? Because I'm coming to town and I just wanted to stop by. Just so happened they were working out at 7 o'clock on a Saturday morning, and it was the crew that I wanted to see. It was the crew that we could joke, we could laugh, we could cut up, but we knew everything about each other. And it's Ershad Davis, Natron Culpepper, Bubba, that group. And I made a point to stop by while they were working out, went and spoke to each and every one of them, share some quiet, share time with all of them. And that's what it's about, is when you can leave and you can leave a mark, you really don't know what the impact is until you leave and you go back. And I think I really felt that when I went to Atlanta for the SWAC MEAC. I'm in a neutral role. I was working for ESPN events, and I just happened to be assigned at Alabama State side. And those guys came running out of the field, and I can't tell you how many of them stopped and shook my hand and patted me on the back. And then the same thing going through, you walk through the stadium and you hear your name being called, and it's alumni and it's fans that know who you are. And to me, that's what it's about. It's never about, taking the spotlight. It's never about jumping to the forefront. It's about promoting the university, promoting the student athletes. And if you do that, and you do that well, you'll know when you go back.
That's right. Y'all become a family. And, and I think, you'll always be a family with, like, each place you've had a stop. That's just how it should be. So you pretty much answered one of my questions, because I was going to ask you, what's a typical day in the Sun Belt Conference versus the SWAC conference, but you asked, because it's a lot different, it seems.
Well, it's a lot different, but it's the same. I mean, the job is the same. For anybody that aspires to climb, don't let what people tell you about where you work affect where you want to be. I could have very well been, and I'll be honest, I talked to Andrew Roberts when this job opportunity came up and told him, I said, hey man, I'm leaving. I said, I just did the interview. I said, if the job comes, I'm taking it. And I kind of had a feeling that the call was going to come. And I said, Drew, I said, there's not a lot of times these positions come up, I said, white guy, white female, black guy, black female, Asian, whatever. I said, if you get into the SWAC or the MEAC, these opportunities don't come around all the time because you get categorized. And I said, I just want everybody in the conference to know that these things are attainable if you just do what you need to do.
Yeah.
I never envisioned leaving Alabama State ever, because that's where I'm from. I'm from Montgomery. I never envisioned leaving, but the opportunity came, and it's too good to pass up. I still answer the phone when SWAC SIDs call. I still return text messages, and that's the thing I want people to understand. Any goal is attainable as long as you can put the work in to do it. And that's so. There's really no difference. Communications is communications. Doesn't matter where you're at. Doesn't matter what your title is. You're going to do the same thing. You just may have a different role. You may have less of a role. You may have more of a role. You may have less responsibilities. You may have more responsibilities. You just have to take it for what it's worth and move on and go with it.
That's true. That is true. So do you have a favorite sport you like to work with?
No, for the last 20 years, I've been asked that question, and I'm not about to get painted into a corner. For me, every sport that plays is important.
Yeah.
And I fought this battle, and God love him. I love Andrew Chapman to death. I fought this battle with him every day that I was at Alabama State.
Mm-hmm.
Bowling was just as important as football was. You're not going to get the same amount of coverage. You're not going to get the same amount of value, but it's the same thing.
That's right.
And that was, other than baseball, that was my last trip. I went to NCAA regionals with bowling to Lansing. And that just, for me, and the way he acted and the girls acted, I mean, it made me feel really good about where we were and what we were doing. I've always had a good staff in place. So you'll never hear me say me. Even if I was by myself, it was we. But no, I can't name one sport. Even if I'm working for one sport and that's it, I'm still not going to say that's my favorite sport, because I know at the end of the day, I had 18 there. I've got 17 here.
Mm-hmm.
Got 500 student athletes. Every one of them is as important as the first one.
That's right. You're right. So what's the most difficult part of your job?
Here it's just time management because the way things are laid out. But really the most difficult job is in this field is always preparing for the worst, because you never know when it's going to come.
Never know, because everything is live.
Well, and that's the thing. You don't know when somebody's going to post something on social. You don't know when your coach's name is going to come up in a coach's search, which ours just did this week. You never know when something's going to happen to a student athlete, the family of a student athlete. You never know when something's going to happen to a coach or the family of a coach.
Right.
I hate to say that I'm prepared for it, but mentally, it all started for me back in 2001 when I was still a student. Or 2002 when I was a student, kind of trying to fulfill that full-time role. We had a basketball player at AUM, Kajana Howard, that was a really good friend of mine. And we had a tight unit, myself, Tori Smith, Cerez Estes, and we still, Cerez and Tori, I can send them a message today or call them. We'll have a conversation. KJ passed away during our summer workouts at a YMCA, collapsed on the court, basically passed away there. So for me, that was my first role in dealing with a student athlete's death, and it happened to be somebody close, and we were doing a memorial service for him at the school. To me, those are the worst things, but it prepared me because we had a rodeo student athlete die while I was at Troy. We've had coaches pass away. We've had administrators pass away where I've been. Heck, Tavares Jackson, other than KJ passing away, when T-Jack passed away on Easter, those are the two that I think I've cried the hardest on, because I was really close to both of them. But those are the two. I think those are the things that you're not prepared for. You're not prepared for a death. You're not prepared for a firing. You're not prepared for anything that can happen at the institution. Like if the hurricane were to come through here, getting prepared for all that. How do you put the news out? How do you deal with it? How do you deal with the media want to ask questions? Who they talk to? But you always have to have that in the back of your mind, because you just never know when or where it's going to happen. Just like Alcorn State, I was on social media and saw Tim's tweet and started digging to find out what happened.
So sad.
That's hard, because you've got to be there for the kid. but you also have to do the right thing through the university. And then I had just left Alabama State when Austin passed away.
Mhm.
And that was hard because I dealt with him. I was there with him while he was at Alabama State.
Mm.
So things like that, I think, are the hardest. But,
Yeah.
if you love talking to people, you love communicating, you love writing, you love doing it, this is the perfect spot because things change on a daily basis. You can't plan your day.
Can't
There's just
plan
no
it.
way. There's no way around it. It just my Monday completely changed. My days can change at 9 o'clock in the morning. They can change at 11 o'clock at night. You just never know.
Yeah. On the flip side, what's your favorite part of your job?
Getting to spend time with people.
Mhm.
Um, for me, it's getting to know student athletes. It's getting to know coaches. It's getting to know media members. I had to get to know a whole new group of media here.
Yeah.
We butted heads a little bit at the beginning, but at the end of the day, we both know we have a job to do.
Right.
And so that's we worked through it. We got better because of it.
Mhm.
But just being able to sit down and get to know the kids, and that's what I'm gonna call them. That they're kids. They're 18 to 22,
Right.
18 to 23. You want to say male, female. You want to say guys and girls. You want to say you don't say boys and girls because
Right.
it's just not that point. But they're still kids, and I think once we
Yeah.
understand that we're still dealing with people that are trying to figure things out. We were all there at one point.
Right.
We didn't know everything.
Right.
Um, but my thing is I love getting to sit and talk. I got several student athletes here. I live in an apartment complex, and right across me and on the road, in the building next to me is an All-American defensive back. And, we didn't know each other from Adam when I first got here. And we just, every time we see each other, say, "Hey, what's up, neighbor?"
Yeah.
I walk on the sideline during the game, and we have fun because
Yeah.
if we're winning or losing, if we're losing, we don't say anything. But if you're winning, the guys talk, they laugh, they cut up. You
Yeah.
can walk behind them and say something. It just, and then the staff. The staff we have here is amazing. That's to me, you get to come to work every day, just smile on your face when you walk in the building. To me, that's what it's about. It's not work. It's you're coming to do what you love to do.
That's good. That's good. So Travis, I don't believe that you went to an HBCU. Is that correct?
No, I worked at one for 8 years.
Right. I know that. So that my question is, what attracted you to want to work at a HBCU in the athletics program?
A lot of prayer and a lot of conversations with other people. You hear horror stories from the outside.
Yeah.
You know how it is. You just hear people, "Oh, you don't want to do this. Oh, you don't need to go there. They don't do right. You don't need to do." The Tuskegee job was the right place at the right time. I made a couple of phone calls to people that I confided in, and one of those is Jasher Cox.
Mm-hmm.
That's at Allen now. Really good friend of mine. I consider him a mentor. I consider him an ear that I can bend when I need to. Ask him his thoughts. Called a couple of other people that kind of knew some things. And one of the things is don't pigeonhole yourself and get caught, which is what I was referring to earlier. But for me, when I went through the interview process, the one question they kept coming back to was, you haven't done this in a while. You haven't done this in a while. I'm like, 4 years is not a while. They were like, you haven't done this in a while. And I just finally said, look, just give me a computer and just let me work. I said, just let me come in and make a difference. I said,
Yeah.
I just want to make a difference. That's all I want to do. I just want to make a difference. I want to come in and I want to give these student athletes same experience that they're getting at a P5 or a group of 5 school or a PWI Division 2 school or a PWI Division 1 school. I said, I just want to give these kids the chance to do what's right. I had been at Troy. I talked to the folks at Troy.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing that kept coming back said it's a no-brainer. Take the job. And this was at Tuskegee. So you see the facilities at Tuskegee, you know what they are. And you're just like, man, can I really go in and make a difference? That's what attracted me to that. And then Alabama State was just, I was already living at home and just driving back and forth, but Alabama State was just a chance to go back home and really make a difference. Now, the Tuskegee job was easy to get talked into compared to the Alabama State job. Because if you know anything about Alabama State and Montgomery media drug Alabama State through the mud for a while.
Oh, wow, I didn't know.
And that's, that was the first question my wife asked me is like, do you really want to take that job? Knowing what's been going on. Because when you grow up in that environment and that's your hometown, you know it all. You see what happens. So, I got the phone call. I didn't even apply for the job. And funny story is because it's public now, everybody knows how it happened. Some people may not. So if you don't, you're about to find out. I was sitting at home. No, I was actually sitting in my office at Tuskegee.
Mm-hmm.
I had just gone through the SWAC office interview when Peter got the job. Didn't really know if I wanted to take the job or not, but I was frustrated because I didn't get the chance.
Right.
Which I'm kind of glad I didn't, because then everything kind of changed. And once the commissioner leaves, his staff pretty much is gone too. So I talked to Ruben Perez, who's a real big confidant in mine. He works in Birmingham now. He was at the SIEC, was at Morehouse. He'd been around the block. I knew him from Tuskegee. And I was complaining to him. I said, man, I just want a chance to be at a D1 school again and prove myself. And he sent me a text and he goes, you still want that chance? I was like, yeah. So I'm on the phone with somebody that can help you get that chance. And I was like, where? He said, you want to go to Alabama State? I was like, heck yeah, man. I said, tell him to call me. I said, tell me where I need to send my resume. He was on the phone with Jennifer Lynn Williams, who was a deputy AD at the time. I sent my resume to him and to her. He said, send it to her. So I sent it to her. He forwarded it to Terrence Jones, who's over at Jackson. Terrence called me 4 times from a 919 number. If your phone number is not in my phone, which obviously you know that now, I don't answer because you just don't know. So the 4th time I answered the phone, I was like, hello. I said, I didn't say this is Travis. I was sitting at home. I was playing with my daughter. She was young. We were having a blast. I was throwing her around. I threw her on the bed about the same time the last time it rained. And we went through, he said, hey, this is Terrence Jones at Alabama State. He said, I got your phone number and I got your resume and I'm looking at it. He said, man, he said, I'm going to talk to you, but piece of advice, when a position's open and you see it and you really want it, you need to go ahead and apply. I was like, man, I didn't even know the job was open. I was like, I'm not even going to lie to you. I said, I had no clue. He said, well, I'm going through your resume. And we went through it. We talked and he said, are you interested? I was like, I am. And he said, well, we already filled the director job. We got one more spot we want to fill. He said, could you come in and be a number 2 guy and help mentor the guy that we got? He hadn't been in the school in a while. He was at the conference office, Brian Howard. Brian knows this. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, yeah, I said, I can do it. He goes, well, he said, think about it and let me know. Well, they happened to be playing at home the next night against Fort Valley State. And I told him, I was like, hey, I said, if I decide, I said, I may come to the basketball game tomorrow night. And I said, I'll let you know either way. Didn't call him, didn't text him. I just showed up at the basketball game. Got in free because I knew the people at the door. Mm-hmm. Went down. I sent him a text. I was like, hey, I'm here. I said, I was going to talk to you and let you know what I thought. He ended up, Melvin Hines, who was the AD at the time, was walking out the door as he came upstairs to meet him. Shook Melvin's hand. Melvin didn't really realize who I was. Started walking out the door and I was like, you don't remember, do you? And he put 2 and 2 together. He's like, man, welcome to Alabama State. I was like, I hadn't even told him if I was taking the job yet or not. And I told Terrence, and I was like, yeah, man, I said, I accept. I told him that in the parking lot. He said, so you want to come in and watch the game? I was like, yeah, I'll come in for a little while. So unbeknownst to Terrence, the men were playing that night. I walked down to the tunnel where the guys came out. Mm-hmm. Lou Jack walked out. Twin, who was Anthony Sewell, walked out. Steve Rogers walked out. Michael Curry walked out. All 4 of them stopped and asked me how my family was doing, asked me how my wife was, asked me what I was doing there. And I just looked at Lou Jack. I was like, I don't know, man, I might be working with you in about a week or 2. And he looked at me funny and was like, really? I was like, yeah. And that's how it started. I mean, but long story short, HBCUs is a place that you can make a difference in. And that was my biggest thing, is I wanted to just go in and make a difference. And I feel like I did. Whether I did or not, that's up to other people's opinions and what they want to think. But that was the biggest reason. I had friends that went to HBCUs. I hired assistants that went to HBCUs. But for me, it was just about making a difference. And I would do that regardless of where I was.
Yeah. Well, you made a difference, actually. You did that You were named SWAC SID of the Year 2 years straight, 2020 to 2021, 2021 to 2022. And you were named SID, let's see, you were one of 4 SIDs 2020 to 2021 season to be named SIDs of the Year by Black, that's a lot, by Black College Nines. Can you give us more details of what Black College Nines is? I know it has something to do with baseball. I hate baseball. I know I hate it. So tell me and the listeners more about Black College Nines.
Well, first off, thank you for putting those out there. Those that don't know me very well know that when I get awards like that, I really, it is what it is. I mean, you get rewarded for doing something that you love.
And you won SWAC SID when you were already at South Alabama.
Yeah, and that was, so the thing with and I'll tell you SWAC SID of the Year first. The SWAC SID of the Year is voted on by your peers.
Mm-hmm.
The other SIDs in the conference vote on it. I'm grateful. I had a chance to serve them as the chair for 3 during COVID. We extended it a year. Andrew Roberts said, "I'm extending you 1 year because of COVID," and I said, "No, I don't want it anymore." So I got stuck with it for 3 years. And that really, but at the end of the day, that really strengthened the relationship I had with him. We were already friends. That made it even stronger. And that's somebody I talk to. We talk every day, either via text or phone call. Dude would call me at 5:30 in the morning to wake me up to see how I was doing and said, "Man, you ready for the day?" So it just, for me to get that from the SWAC is something I'm very appreciative of. I actually now finally have taken the first one out of the box and put it on the shelf, and I'm kind of looking at it as we talk. Second one, I haven't gotten it yet. I told him, I said he could just keep it. It really wasn't that big of a deal. Black College Nines is a publication that really focuses on HBCU baseball from all divisions. And they base it on, what you do for them, how you help them. And like I told you, all my sports I treat the same.
Yeah.
So they were on every distribution list I did for baseball. We gave them everything we needed. I made Coach Vasquez readily available. Again, I didn't even know that I had been named the first one in 21, 22 until Andrew called me and said, "Man, are you kidding me?" I was like, "What?" He said, "You just got named SID of the Year for Black College Nines." Well, I found out at this year's SWAC baseball tournament, the Saturday after my last day, Michael Coker from Black College Nines said, "Hey, you're about to be named SID of the Year, one of the 4 SIDs of the year again for Black College Nines." So I won both of them back to back.
Wow.
Which, for me is okay. It's not about me. It's about the staff. It's about my people that I put in place to do the right things. I've been fortunate enough to have some great assistants along the way and great people to work with. And every time one of them leaves, people would look at me like I'm crazy, "Man, why are they leaving after a year and a half?" I was like, "Because they're going to a better place." That's the whole point. I don't want an assistant that's going to be here forever. So for me, it's about that staff, and it's about the people that you have working for you and with you. I told them every day, and I told the staff here at South Alabama the day I walked in the door, I said, "Ignore the title on the door." I said, "Yes, I'm going to be the one leading the meetings. Yes, I'm the one you have to come ask questions. Just do your job. Just be yourself. Do what you're here to do. Do what you know what to do, and we're going to be fine." I don't believe in somebody standing over top of somebody. I don't believe in somebody micromanaging. And I think that's what got recognized by the folks in the SWAC and then Black College Nines. It was a team effort. It was never, "Hey, Travis did this. Hey, Travis did that. Hey, Travis did that." It never is and never will be.
Mm-hmm. That's a true sign of a leader, and that's good to know. That's really good to know. Also, Travis, while you were at ASU, being on the cutting edge of media field practices was a trademark for you. You and your staff conducted the first virtual press conference for a SWAC member institution with the hiring of men's basketball coach at the time, Coach Mo Williams, which saw over 100 media members globally participate in the event, along with one-on-one interview sessions. So how did that first virtual press conference come about?
Mo was still in LA. And was in LA for a while because it was during COVID. we were actually shutting down campus 3 days after that, I think, is when we shut down campus. So, we were not going to fly him to Montgomery for a press conference for 4 people.
Right.
We sat down, we thought about it. After we went through the interview process, when he got on the Zoom with us to interview, I just started laughing because he knew me without us even talking, and I knew him without
Right.
even talking. So we hit it off, and I, we started the planning stages then because I had a feeling he was going to be the guy they named. And sure enough, a week later, they named him. So we already had things put in place. We had tested some things. We played around with some things. And I credit Jay Sanders, who was my assistant director at the time, who I hired from Mercer, who was at Troy right after me. I credit Malcolm Gross for being able to help and get the word out, and even Terrence Jones, who allowed us to do it. And then for the university folks to believe in it, because when we pitched it, I was really afraid they were going to be like, "What are you thinking? Can you think you can pull it off?" And because I was going to be honest with them, if they would have asked me, do I think I could have pulled it off? Heck no, I didn't think we could have pulled it off. I was nervous from the day we said we were going to do it till we were done. And somehow, some way, even we tested everything. The day that it happened, we got online. We had 3 different computers going. We had mine that I was sitting at. I was out in the main area with headphones in. We had Jace sitting in his office with another computer running the Zoom. And then we had Malcolm at another one, probably 45 feet from me in the same room. Well, because he was so close, the sound was coming through. So the first text I got from anybody was from Dr. Ross. He's like, "Hey, we're hearing some strange sounds on the Zoom. Can we please get this cleaned up before we start?" And I was like, "Yes, sir." So I said, "Malcolm, get your butt in the other room." I said, Dr. Ross just sent me a text. I said, "This is the one thing I was worried about is just, we got to make sure everything goes off."
Right.
We got Mo on 30 minutes before. I sat down with Mo and we talked. Then we just started letting media members in. And then as we were letting media members in, I was getting text messages. I was getting emails. "Hey, I'd like to talk to Mo when it's over. Hey, I want to schedule an interview with Mo." So we did that. I think it lasted 45 minutes on a Zoom. It's the hardest thing to moderate because you had to watch for hands. You had to watch the chat. I missed something in chat. Jace would send me a text and say, "Hey, you got a chat," or, "Hey, somebody's got their hand up." And we just opened the floor. It's like, "Hey, introduce yourself." We did it just like a normal press conference. Mo was really good. And that was when Zoom had really just started.
Right.
So we were fighting a virtual background, him moving to the left or to the right. So I'd have to send him a text and say, "Hey, quit moving so much." But then after we got done, we spent the next 72 hours, me and him on the phone. I would call a media member, then call him, or I'd call him, then call a media member. 126 phone calls. I can remember the number exact. And it went from local media here in Montgomery, or local media in Montgomery, to regional media, to Seth Davis, to John Rothstein, to Jeff Goodman, to Cleveland folks still want to talk to him, to LA folks wanting to talk to him. We did interviews, and God, I hope he didn't kill me when I say this. We did interviews with him going in a grocery store, with him walking through a gas station buying stuff. We did it with him sitting in his car. We did it with me walking from my car to my house just so we could get them done. But it developed a great relationship between me and him. And, to this day, I called him 3 weeks ago when we had a conversation, just asking how things were going. I wished him well. I said, "Good luck." I said, "Obviously, I can't tell you good luck against Alabama State, even though I really want to, because I know you." But it just, for us as a staff to be able to pull that off, I'm still in awe that we were able to do it. I would never have envisioned that we would have been able to do that. And especially during the time that we were at. And you're having to trust technology, and you're having to trust your technology on your end, his end, everybody else's end. I was nervous the entire time. I mean, until Jace hit end and leave, I probably was sweating. And as soon as he hit end and that screen went blank, I just dropped my head on the desk.
Wow.
And just put both fists in the air.
Yeah.
I just put both fists in the air, and I was like, "Thank God that's over."
Yeah. Well, it worked because I mean that like you said, that was just a strange time, and so
Yep.
you were able to pull it off. That's awesome. So Travis, you of course are with the new school, new conference. How do you plan to take USA to the next level in communication and media?
Right now, we're still planning it. Our deputy athletic director, Daniel McCarthy, took a chance and hired 3 new people. He hired myself, he hired a new assistant AD on fan engagement, and we started a creative services department. We all work hand in hand. And I'm forever grateful to him, to Dr. Joel Erdman, our athletic director, for giving me the chance to come down here. It's a blank slate. Football's only been here 13 years. It's a brand new stadium. Stadium opened during COVID. Last year was our first full year in the stadium. Largest crowd was 20,000. We had 18,000 in here when we played Louisiana Tech in our last non-conference game.
Mm-hmm.
We got a big game with Troy coming up that is a Thursday night ESPNU game that we're trying to get this thing full at 26. It's a great size stadium, but it goes beyond football. Our men's basketball program has won 20 plus games the last 3 years. Our women's basketball team contends. Terry Fowler's a household name down here in Mobile. And you go to soccer. Soccer's won 3 straight conference titles. They're undefeated right now in conference play. They've lost 1 match total, and that was to a nationally ranked Texas A&M team. You've got volleyball, who won the Sun Belt last year. They're in the middle of the conference race right now. They've won 3 out of their first 4. It just goes on and on. I mean, track and field won the Sun Belt last year. Outdoor, indoor will compete. Cross country is competing right now.
Mm-hmm.
Baseball is synonymous with success. I've been to 20 plus regionals. Softball challenges for the Sun Belt every year. And I know I'm gonna leave sports off. Tennis is always good. Tennis is won the conference. Men's and women's golf is fantastic. But we won 15 Bubas Cups. We didn't win the last one. We lost. We finished 1 point behind Texas State for the overall cup. So, it's there. For me, it's easy. I just get to come in and get with my staff and say, okay, how are we going to tell our story? What are we going to tell? How are we going to tell it? And 4 months in, I had a media member who I'm really, really good friends with that's down here in Mobile that does our sideline for football.
Mm-hmm.
He asked me, he said, how are things? I said, they're good. I said, we're getting there. He said, getting there? He said, how good is good? I said, Tommy, I said, we're good right now. I said, give me 8 to 10 months. I said, we'll be great, and we'll be able to be the best communications office in the conference, because we're going to challenge everybody else to do things. It's not a competition.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't like being behind. Like right now, we're focusing so much on social media that we have meetings every Monday. And Drew Wick and has done a great job with our creative side. I sit down with him right before the meeting, and we draw everything out for every sport. What do we have planned?
Mm-hmm.
And in 5 minutes, we had 12 sports going. We had the exact plan for the week for every sport. So for me, that's what it is. It's about working with everybody else up here. It's about knocking down walls. It's about not working in silos. It's about everybody being on the same page, and that goes from administration to staff to coaches to student athletes. We signed a deal with Influencer right after I got here.
Oh, wow.
So our student athletes now are reaping the benefits of that. They get their images, they can put them out on social. We give them captions to put out. It helps with recruiting. Everything is in place to be successful. It's just not resting on your laurels and getting complacent.
Right.
And for me, that was hard for about the first month, because I only have 2 main sports as compared to having 18 at a time. But the administrative side was kicking my butt.
Okay.
And so I've been able to get over that hump and really start focusing in on what we've got to get done. So it's going to be top to bottom. It's not going to be, hey, oh, you're doing football, so that's all we're going to get. No, I've told every coach up here, I don't care what sport it is. I'm here, and I told them this in the head coaches meeting, I'm your secondary contact for your sport, for every one of them. If you got a problem, let me know. If you see something that's not being done, let me know so we can get it fixed. I don't like having meetings about things that have to be done or that are not being done right, or
Right.
that, we're having issues. So for me, the challenge is to just be better, to get 1% better every day. And if we can do that as a staff, we're not going to have any issues. We'll be able to get through and be the staff that I envision us being, which is why I chose to take the opportunity, because I knew the two guys that were full-time already.
Right.
And I knew their work ethic, but I wanted to push them a little more. And I think I'm so far through 4 months, I think that's been success.
That's awesome. You said 8 to 10 months. I believe it too. Y'all gonna do it.
It'll take some time, but I've had challenges. Every place I've had, not just professionally but personally.
Right.
I know you said you followed me on social. I hit a mark, what, 4 or 5 months ago. I said I was going to lose 100 pounds.
You did? No.
I've done more than that. I'm still. That's why I'm still doing it, and I'm trying to figure out how to stop, because I don't want to get to whether I wither away.
Right.
But it's a challenge. But if you can win challenges and challenge yourself personally, you can do it in your professional life too.
That's right. Well, congratulations on the weight loss.
I appreciate
behind
that.
you. I'm getting it off too as well. I'm down 30, so I'm
just
moving.
keep going. I mean, it'll. The first few are hard, and then you lose it, and then you have another plateau where you're just like, all right, what's going on? And
Right.
then once that starts going, then you're like, I want to quit. I'm having to go buy new clothes. I mean, our equipment manager looked at me and said, dude, you look like a bag man. Your clothes are too big. I was like, you gave these to me.
Yeah, 4 months ago they fit. So.
Look, 2 months ago or a month ago when he gave me a new pair of pants, they fit.
Wow.
So I mean, it's just for me, it's all about challenges and accepting that challenge, and then and moving forward and doing the right thing. And I think I challenged them. I told my staff, I was like, look, you're never going to outwork me hour-wise. I said, if you think you can, I said, I know how to balance my time. I said, but you're never going to outwork me. And that's not a badge of honor. That's just I know what it takes to get to where I want to be. And you can get to that point where you can do the same things as me, but you're never going to be able to outwork me, because if you do, it's a challenge for me to outwork you. And that's kind of where we are.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So Travis, we're going to go back to HBCU, because that's where you were. What were your thoughts on the recent attention that HBCUs have been receiving through both recruits and in the media?
It's always, the recruiting has always been there. It's just a matter of which guys and how many. There's always been a year or two where you've had guys and female and ladies commit that have been 3, 4, 5 stars. They just slide under the radar. I think with the heightened awareness of what's been going on with the social injustice and HBCUs being at the forefront in the media, and the calling of come home, which started when I was still there, I think has really impacted and has had an impact on these high school student athletes that you would never have thought about it. But when you think about the things that have happened, you think about the deaths that have happened. You think about just the timing of everything and how it all happened. And then you watch the news and you see when you have people marching, and there are a lot of high school kids that are marching.
Yeah.
There are a lot of young college kids that are marching. There are young parents that are marching. It really resonates and makes you think, maybe this is the time. Maybe this is the place that things will change and the culture is there. I've seen things come out of, we've got to protect the culture. We've got to protect. Yeah, in a way, but why protect it and put it in a closet to where nobody knows it and nobody sees it? Because if that would have been the case, I'd have never been there.
That's true.
I grew up around Alabama State football, being in Montgomery, because they shared Crampton Pole with us when I was in high school. So we would play Fridays, they would play Saturdays. So I got to see it. And then I worked for the city of Montgomery. So I got to work the Turkey Day Classics, and I got to work the other games. And so you see it, and you know, as a young white male in Montgomery, that resonated to see 26, 27,000 people that, and I'm gonna say the way that for the last 4 years I heard it, that looked the same.
That's right.
It really, it you think about it, but you don't understand it until you get to it. You know, I think people forget why HBCUs were founded.
Now
Um,
that's key. You're right.
and I think if people would go back and understand why they were really founded, because you know, African Americans weren't given the opportunity to go to the same institutions and play at the same institutions as people who look like me.
That's right.
We wouldn't be in the situation we're in now if things would have been the way they should have been.
Right.
You know, you grow up in a place like I do in Montgomery. You talk about a place that is still kind of searching for its identity. I think maybe a little bit. On one side of the street is the cradle of the Confederacy. On the other side of the street is the Civil Rights Movement, and you got places that recognize both of them. And you got, you know, you can walk in the souvenir shop on this side of the street, and you go into another souvenir shop on this side of the street. You know, I grew up in an opportunity where every school I went to wasn't all white, wasn't all black. It was 60-40, 65-35, 70-30. So I got to grow up around all of it. You know, and we looked at each other as the same. You know, on our athletic teams, we were always the same. It was never, hey, I'm not helping you because you're white, or hey, I'm not helping you because you're black. No, it's, hey, what you need.
Right.
You know, we're here to help. You know, I can vividly remember we had one of our football players who was a really good friend of mine, Peter Williams' mom passed away during the year while we were playing. And this goes to show you how bad Montgomery was at the time in 91. We all went to the funeral, the entire team, bussed in. So you had, and of course, we got side-eyed looks when we went in. And this is in the 90s. But we were there to support our brother who lost his mom, who had been there with us. We grew up together. And I think that gets lost. I think it gets lost on a lot of people about what goes on and where HBCUs are. I mean, I think if on the path they're on right now, there's going to be a big shift at some of these Power 5 schools. Some of these kids are not going to go because you're going to hear the word culture thrown around. You're going to hear the words of "come play for us" because, you know, we all look like you. You know, but again, you're going to have guys, and I use his name, Bubba Colton Adams at Wetumpka. He's given an opportunity to go play at Alabama State. That's what HBCUs were founded for, to give people opportunities.
Right.
You know, I think it's a big shift that's going to happen. You know, media attention is going to be up and down. I think it's going to fluctuate. I think right now it's going well, and you know how media is. It's going to, then they're going to start turning on you a little bit, then they'll come back and they'll love on you some more. It's all about picking the right time as a student athlete or a coach, what to say, how to say it, and when to say it. You pick the wrong time, you can shoot yourself in the foot. You pick the wrong thing to say, you can shoot yourself in the foot. You know, I told somebody about a month ago, I said, I want you to envision yourself being in an HBCU. I said, as a communications director who's white, and the whole country is becoming a race war. I said, imagine being that person who has to put statements out and put quotes out and put releases out. I said, in order to feel comfortable, you have to feel uncomfortable. You know, and that's why I said earlier at the very beginning of this, I think I found out a lot about myself over the 8 years I spent at an HBCU, but really over the last 3 because of everything that's going on in this country.
Right.
You know, you learn your place, you learn maybe that's not how things should be. Maybe that's the person you're listening to talk. Maybe that's not what they should be saying. And I've said some very poignant things to some people that they've looked at me crazy because they said some things, and I'm like, dude, you have no idea what the heck you're talking about. But again, it comes back to being in a place that you trust, the people you work for you trust, and having two or three people you can confide in. I wasn't afraid to pick up the phone and call Andrew and Jasher and be like, look, I don't really know what to say, but I need to say something.
Yeah.
And I'll credit both of them. They let me be very vocal on the phone. And at the end, and I told them, I said, be honest with me. I said, I'm not the kind of person that wants you to lie to me and tell me something else. I said, be honest. And both of them told me my heart was in the right place. I was saying the right things, and, that I was in the right place at the right time. And that's, and I would tell our student athletes the same thing. If you need anything, call me. If something comes up, call me. If you can't get coached, call me. I know enough people in Montgomery that if something were to happen, I can do it. But, the attention that HBCUs are getting is well-deserved. Some more than others. Some are getting more attention than others are, which is, a great marketing ploy. And, I think people think that I hate Coach Prime because I was at Alabama State and he was at Jackson State. I think he's doing a heck of a job. I think he picks the right time to say things.
He's very calculated.
I think he picks the right day, the right time to say it, because he knows that's the last thing that's going to be said. Yep. And so it's going to be talked about for a few days. Kudos to him. Kudos to Ashley Robinson for hiring him. I got a really good friend of mine who coaches on that staff, and we text as much as we can. Gary Harrell was at Alabama State when I was there. I love Flea to death. And he knows where I stand. He knows that I will back the things that are right, and the things that aren't right, he knows where I stand on it. But, I told him the same thing. I said, dude, y'all keep doing what you're doing. I said, y'all are doing things the right way. Just keep winning and keep plugging along, and good things happen to good people.
That's right. And he did an excellent job stepping in for Coach while he was, healing last year. So I actually met Coach Harrell during Christmas. It was at the mall. So yeah, really cool guy. Yeah.
Well, you're one of the few people I hear him, other than me, just calling that. I've never referred to him as Coach. I used to call him Flea.
Oh,
so people look at me like, okay, that's his nickname, and that's when we introduce ourselves to each other, that's what he introduced himself as. So I just started laughing.
Right. So speaking of Jackson State and Alabama, Jackson State will be traveling to Montgomery on my mom's birthday, October 8th.
Why you got to bring this up on this call?
Because I have to. I have to do it. I'm an interviewer. Look, I'm a journalist. No, I'm just kidding. But we play your team for their homecoming. What are your thoughts? Why are you laughing, Travis? What are your thoughts on this matchup, and who takes the W?
I'm trying to figure out why they changed homecoming. That's the first thing. I'll say this for all the Alabama State folks that are watching this and are going to listen to this. I love you to death. You know where my heart is. I support you 100%.
Absolutely.
But I've seen this team play up close and personal too many times, and I've seen and heard things from this team about going. Last year was a revenge tour. I don't know what the heck he's doing now, because he's beating teams worse than he did on the revenge tour. I think Jackson's going to get the win. I'm not going to give you a score because I really, in my heart of hearts, I really wish Alabama State would win the game.
Absolutely. I know you would.
But we opened up a can of worms. Not really we, because I had nothing to do with it.
No, y'all a team. That's your family.
No. When we won the spring game, I had absolutely nothing to do. I had absolutely nothing to do. And I let Flea know that. I sent Flea a text as soon as the game was over. I was like, not me. I had nothing to do with it. I said, please let him know that it was not me. And I even drove to Birmingham when I was going to Pine Bluff. When volleyball was going on in Birmingham. I stopped to talk to Ashley. A.D.
Oh,
Robinson.
okay.
I said, Ash, I had nothing to do with it, man. I said, I don't want that. I don't want my name being brought up in this. I said, it was already. I said, he blasted me on the SWAC call. I said, I didn't have anything to do with any of it. I said, some decisions were made after I gave some directives on post-game press conference and all this other stuff. I said, but the board, I had nothing to do with it. I said, please don't let that fall under Travis Jerome's watch.
Right.
I know who did, and that will forever go with me to my grave, because I'm not going to throw that person under the bus.
Absolutely.
Or those people under the bus, because it was more than one. Was it funny at the time? Still not going to answer that question because I don't want him calling me out on another call. I love Coach Prime. Coach Prime was my favorite athlete growing up. And I want him to understand that I would never do anything like that.
Right.
But I think Jackson State's going to win. But I will say this. I'm about 99% sure, because we're off that weekend, I might be sitting somewhere in attendance.
I'm coming. Come on down there.
No. I will. If I come, nobody's going to know where I'm sitting. I don't want any attention. I don't want any.
Yeah.
I like I told you, MEAC SWAC was a little different for me. I'm not a person that goes out and seeks it. But yeah, again, why they scheduled Jackson for homecoming?
Feeling confident, but
well, I know the team that was originally supposed to be homecoming, but they changed it. So,
well, it's gonna be nice. I'll be there. I'll call you. So Travis, I have a new segment called "It Goes Down in the DM," and that is when listeners, ask questions they want to ask the guests. So I have one question. This is very interesting. I can't wait to hear what you have to say. With the alleged affair, and they're anonymous, with the alleged affair with the Boston Celtics coach Udoka and Kathleen Nemo Lynch, as a director of communications, how would you have handled that situation with it being deemed a violation of franchise code of conduct? How would you have handled that?
My first question is asking what the heck he was thinking, considering he's been in a relationship with for the last 7 years.
Right. Well, everybody's like, it was Nia Long. How could he do it? But please, that means nothing. But go ahead.
No, it doesn't. Without being at the forefront of it and being in the office and being in an organization, at that level, a lot of things get played out in the media.
Yeah.
At that level, the communications people like me are more like public relations people that deal with things in the community, deal with coaches, speaking engagements. They really don't per se have a communications person that sits there every day and does what we do. Right. If I were there in that position, it would have been like anywhere else I've been. I mean, when I was at Alabama State, we had a team of myself, the AD, the president, and the head of university communications, and the vice president of institutional advancement, we all sat in a room and discussed things. That would have been first and foremost. Once we heard the rumors start coming about, once everything started circulating, you're not going to keep everything quiet. Unfortunately, you can't keep everything quiet at this level. Can't keep everything quiet at the HBCU level or FCS level either, for that matter. There's always somebody that tries to break it. You just have to be honest with the media. And in that position, it's tough because obviously somebody leaked it before anybody else was able to do it. But you just sit down as a staff and you sit down with the leaders of your organization, and you formulate a plan. Okay, this is how we're going to attack it. This is how we're going to do it. This is what we're going to do this day. This is what we're going to do this way. This is what we're going to do this way. The way they handled the press conference should have been the way they handled the entire thing. Brad Stevens should have been up there talking the entire time. When it initially broke in the media, there should have been a press conference saying that we're well aware of some transgressions that have been rumored to have happened within the organization. As an organization, we're investigating those. We won't have any further comment on it until the investigation is complete. And then you pretty much rest it on the rest of your employees in the organization. And, then it's okay, whoever's leaking it, good luck. Hope you can find somewhere else to work, because you're going to get hit with a list and everybody's going to know who you are. And that's the last thing you want to happen. Now, with it being a violation of rules, if that's their stipulations, as a communications person, you have to abide by it and go with it.
True. Well, also, I'm wondering if it was brought out like that because the young lady, Mrs. Lynch, her husband is the VP of Celtics. So,
Yeah,
I think
that had. But these things right here,
yeah,
are the worst things
yeah.
you could ever have. That's the worst thing you could ever do.
I'm thankful that we didn't have any of those when we were growing up. It's a blessing.
Oh, it is.
Social media,
a real blessing.
Well, it's a blessing. Okay.
Well, if that's the only one that you had going down in the DMs, I feel like I had a successful day then.
That was it. I was like, that's because when they found out you were in communications, I said that's a really good question. I loved it. Okay, another segment, and we're about to be done. We have a game we play. It's called You Can Get With This or You Can Get With That. And what that is, it's a way, I'm a hip hop baby, so you see everything is hip hop-ish. It's a way for the listeners and myself to get to know the guests better. I'll ask you a few questions and you choose the one that best fits you, okay?
This could be dangerous, just so you know.
Well, it's gonna be one question that's gonna be, I'm gonna see, I already know what you're gonna say, but I still wanna do it. Are you an early riser or a night owl?
Oof, I wasn't an early riser until I got down here. Now I can't go to sleep at night.
Really?
For some reason, I struggle to go to sleep at night. I'll wake up, I try to put myself to sleep, and then I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'm up for 2-3 hours.
Oh, wow. That happened to me last night. You prefer fall or winter?
God, being down here in winter now, I need some cool air because it's awful. The first day of fall, it was 101.
Yeah, it was about that much here, but it was so nice today. The high was like 83. This fall is my favorite season. If we get I want to get a real fall. Like, I don't want to go straight from hell hot to winter. So hopefully we get to have a real fall this year. This is my favorite.
Let me say this: the reason I would say winter, and this may play a little bit into what you asked me earlier. I love traveling with basketball because of the places I got to go.
Okay.
And we got to go to the north, so you get to go see places you normally don't do. That's why I like winter.
Okay, fair enough. We're getting into fall, as I mentioned. So what are your favorite two out of these holidays? Halloween or Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving, because you get to spend it with family. For me, being married, you have two different families you got to try to spend time with. And now it's going to be different, being 2.5 hours away, to be able to spend, because we play that the Saturday after Thanksgiving. But I love Thanksgiving because it's family. And then obviously working those Turkey Day Classics 6 years in a row.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes for a nice holiday. My daughter's too old now to want to go trick-or-treating, so I don't really care about Halloween.
Yeah. So with the weight loss and the, of course, lifestyle change with the eating, will you dibble and dabble in some of the Thanksgiving food, just small?
Oh, you kidding me? I'm sitting here now staring at a teriyaki chicken bowl. I had figured out that my body is losing all this weight. My body now knows how to metabolize the food.
Okay, that's good.
I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, we had a chicken Caesar wrap our last home game in the press box. But then I go down at halftime. We also have Snickers, Uncrustables, and everything else in the locker room. I went upstairs with 2 Snickers and 2 Uncrustables, and I didn't gain a pound the entire night.
Wow.
So
lucky you, because I can't do that at all.
Well, it took a year. It took a year and a half for me to get to that point.
Okay, well, yeah, that makes sense. Speaking of food, Chinese food or Japanese hibachi?
I had Chinese last night. I'm eating Japanese today.
Well, I hate Chinese, so I'm a Japanese. I love hibachi. That's my answer.
Yeah,
California roll.
Japanese is good. My last 2 assistants, Jay Sanders and Jordan Benson, we had a habit of going to a place called Sushi Cafe in Montgomery, and we would get the tempura box with the sushi and the teriyaki and everything. So I mean, it's kind of grown on me. And my daughter loves it. My wife can eat either one of them. So I mean, it's just I switched it up.
Yeah, California roll, but my favorite is, oh my gosh, spicy snow crab. I love those. I love them.
Spicy shrimp roll. That's what you got to get.
Oh, I don't eat shrimp, so yeah.
Just more for me.
Baseball or football?
Oh. Can I plead the fifth?
I knew it.
No, I love both. And I'm a seasonal guy. So for me, fall is football, and winter, spring is baseball. You know, and it's always been that way. I know baseball plays in the fall, but that's just, for me, that's not baseball season. No, football has spring. I hate spring football. Because I can go sit and watch a whole baseball game, which I'm going to get to do for the first time forever. Or I can sit and watch a full football game and be happy. It's hard for me to pick. I mean, I call it seasonal. How about that?
Okay. Fair enough. Tattoos or piercings?
I think tattoos are cool. I don't have any. I don't have any piercings, but just to see tats on student athletes, and I'll ask them. I'll go up and ask the guys. I'm like, what the heck is that?
Yeah.
Have I thought about getting one? Heck yeah. But the minute my wife sees this and hears me say that, yeah, there's going to be a discussion that has to be had. We were in Vegas in June, and I thought about going to getting one, and that's the first thing that crawled into my head. I was like, yeah, no, she's going to see it, so can't get it.
Yeah, can't get it. Do you prefer team building after work or team building on the weekend? Well, you can't really do it on the weekend too much because of sports. Or
all day, every day.
Games.
All day, every day.
All day, every day. Love it.
That's the only way you're going to get any better. Weekends I give to my folks. I try not to bother them whether they're playing, whether the teams have games or not. I don't care if they bother me, because at the end of the day, I need to know everything that's going on anyway. But yeah, I think it's all day, every day. I mean, if you want to get better, you want to be the best at your craft, you got to be able to team build every day.
Love it. 3 more. See the future or change the past?
I see the future. I mean, the past is what has molded your life. You know, the youth group that at the church back home, we go to camps every summer. I would always tell them your life is defined by 2 dates, and it's your beginning date and your end date. And it's that line in between that dictates what your, and I hate to say this, what your legacy is going to be, what people remember you by. But you can't go back and change the beginning date or the beginning of that line. I mean, what you've done is what you've done. There's some things that I want to change. Heck yeah, there's some things I want to change. But it's molded me into the person I am. It's given me experiences that I can talk to people about. The future is what I just want to know. It's going to sound morbid. My daughter's 13. I just want to know what her life's going to be when I'm not here. And that's kind of, I just want to make sure, that's what I think about all the time. You know, I want to put things in place for her. Put things in place that when somebody says her daddy's name, that she'll know that it was always good.
That's awesome. I like that. Do you prefer receiving gifts or giving gifts?
Used to be the first, now it's giving. I was selfish as all get out up until I got to my mid-20s. I wanted anything and everything. Now I just like to see the looks on other people's faces. You know, I was watching a show last night, and they had this, and it was NCIS. So they had this episode where they were just giving out random gifts. And I started thinking to myself, I was like, you know what? It'd be pretty cool just to walk in someday and give like 4 or 5 people a gift. Say, I just thought about you today.
That would be nice. Yeah. I like that. I love still receiving gifts, but I'm a huge giver. I love seeing the look on people's faces and surprising them. So I agree with that.
Look, I have a teenage daughter. There is no receiving gifts from me anymore. I have to have my wallet whenever she comes around. What are you talking about?
Right. Last but not least, SBC or SWAC?
Sunbelt. And I say that tongue in cheek. I always got to serve 6 years in the SWAC. People don't know this is year 5 for me in the Sunbelt. You know, I did 4 at Troy.
Okay. So
And Troy
yes,
kind of
like
said,
Troy is Sunbelt. Yeah.
yeah. So Troy kind of set the stage for my career.
Mhm.
Even though I was at those two previous stops before that, but Troy kind of set the stage for my career. I'd have never left Troy if things would have fell a different way. But again, you can't change the past. You have to look ahead.
Right.
Love the SWAC. Love everything about the SWAC. Love the people in the SWAC. Love the SIDs that are there. Love the coaches and student athletes I got to work with. But it's just life has come back full circle for me. And I told Jerry Scott that from Arkansas State when I saw him at Media Day. I said, dude, you have no idea what it meant for me to walk back into this room at Media Day. I said, for me to walk back in here I can't even begin to put it into words.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. Travis, it has been a pleasure having you on the show today. Thank you so much for coming.
No, thank you for taking time out and giving me the chance.
Absolutely. Please tell the listeners how they can follow you on social media.
You can follow me on Instagram or Twitter. Both of the same thing as Travis_Jarome, TRAVIS_JAROME. If you're on Twitter, excuse me. If you're on Twitter, I will be boring for about a month or two. I get quiet and disappear. But when I come back on social, you might want to mute me for a little while because I go crazy a little bit. It's fun for me. I've kind of changed my outlook on it. I used to be on there and complain about things when I needed to complain, but now it's, those of you that follow me, I spend a month with inspirational quotes, another month with Bible verses, and then once August gets here, I'm a totally different person. But I am who I am on social as I am who I am in real life. I mean, everything I do in real life is what I put on social.
Same here. I love it. And guys, you can follow me at She Say Sports on Facebook, She Say Sports 23 on Instagram, at She Say 23 on Twitter, and please subscribe to our YouTube page. Well, that's my show for today. Until next time, this is Sonia with She Say Sports.